U.S. Supreme Court handing Donald Trump something of a win today, rejecting the special counsel's request to urgently decide the issue of presidential immunity. That is, whether Donald Trump has immunity for any alleged crimes he committed while he was president. Joining us now to discuss, conservative attorney George Conway, who we should note for full disclosure reasons is not a particular fan of Donald Trump.
No.
So what is your reaction to the U.S. Supreme Court decision?
Well, I want to issue a correction from your opening and from something he said at the end of the last segment that this was a big win for Donald Trump. I don't think it's
you don't
a big
think
win.
so?
I don't think it's a big deal.
That's not
a
correction so much as a disagreement.
A disagreement,
Okay.
a friendly disagreement. I think it's not a big deal because I don't think it's going to affect the schedule that much, and I think it actually shows I think it shows the weakness of Donald Trump's immunity claim. And I say that as somebody, as Norm Eisen pointed out in the green room to me, I'm the only person in the universe who ever wrote a brief that won a Supreme Court immunity case for a president against the president.
That was against
Bill Clinton, Paula
yes.
Jones, yeah. And so and I can go through how this works. I mean, we've got the D.C. Circuit which has acted really, really, really fast in prior appeals. They've set this case down for argument on January 9th. I would not be surprised that if we saw a decision from them in a matter of days.
Really?
And yes, I think if I were on that panel and I were the presiding judge, I'd be writing the opinion now because I just don't think there's anything there to the claims that Trump has been making. I mean, I could go into that, but we don't have time. But so I think this case will be disposed of in the intermediate appellate court by the middle of January, by the third week in January at the latest. And I think at that point, the stay, I mean, if the mandate issues, a technical word, or they could just, the stay will lift and they can immediately start proceeding toward trial in the district court. Now,
in March, as soon as March?
As soon as March. And what will happen at that point is that the onus will shift to Donald Trump and his lawyers to go to the Supreme Court, go to the Circuit Justice, Justice Roberts, or the entire court and say, stop this train now. So all of a sudden you're going to see reversal and Trump's going to say, you've got to move fast, you've got to move fast. And at that point, the Supreme Court, they could stay the case. They could grant certiorari, but they're going to hear the case pretty quickly too. And even if they heard the case and had an argument in February or March, they could still decide this case by April or May or even June, and this case could still get tried in the summer. But there's another possibility that I wouldn't discount, which is this case is so meritless that the Supreme Court could just decide we're not going to hear it right now. We're going to deny cert. And I know, Jack
meritless
Smith,
because your argument is there's no way that what he was doing in trying to overturn the election was in the course of his presidential duties.
And there's the cases he relies on are civil cases, and that just does not carry on over to immunize a president from committing crimes against the very country that he's sworn to uphold the laws of. But to go back to the point is they could easily just decide, oh well, he got his crack in the Court of Appeals. We're not going to hear this case now. And what will happen is he'll still get a chance to go to the Supreme Court, but after he's convicted. And so, like every other criminal who's convicted in a United States District Court, he can have his arguments heard, the immunity argument and any other argument, after he's convicted and sentenced.
I want to also ask you about this Michigan story. The Detroit News reviewed a tape of a call, part of the tape of a call from November 2020. Trump and Ronna McDaniel from the RNC were allegedly, according to this reporter who heard part of the tape, pressuring local officials to not sign the certification of the Wayne County vote. Wayne County, the biggest, most populous county in Michigan. It's where Detroit is. Trump reportedly said on this call, quote, "We've got to fight for our country. We can't let these people take our country away from us." And the two Wayne County canvassers went back, and even though they had voted to certify the election, they said, we're not going to sign the certification. The rest of the board said, it doesn't matter. If you're going to sign it, you already voted that way. Who cares? As far as Michigan is concerned, this wasn't an official disruption of the election because they got there a little too late. But that doesn't mean that Jack Smith might not try to find this tape if it exists and use it to his ends, right?
Yeah, I think it shows. I think it's consistent with the criminal conspiracy and the criminal intent that Jack Smith is going to be trying to prove here in the District of Columbia. And I also think it's consistent with the conspiracy that's been alleged against all of the defendants in Fulton County, Georgia. And I don't think it necessarily has to be prosecuted itself as a separate crime. And there may be a problem with that because of the fact that, as you point out, the certifications had already, the approval had already been granted.
Right.
These people no longer had the power to take it back, so that would present a legal obstacle. That being said, this was enormously corrupt. The desire to pressure state officials who have a sworn duty to uphold the law to violate their oaths if they can. And I mean, you know, it's of a piece for Donald Trump. I mean, Donald Trump has done that many times in many situations. And I have to say this as a former member of the Republican Party. I mean, for a political party chairman to participate in this, any normal, decent party would fire an official that did what Ronna Romney McDaniel did. You know, this woman who changed her name for Trump.
According to the Detroit News, yeah. A Michigan law enforcement official told me, quote, to try and make this into a crime would be a stretch based on the information in the Detroit News article and assuming more information doesn't come out. None of which means this wasn't unethical, egregious, and grotesque, unquote.
Check, and check. I totally agree with that.